can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
I was just saying to someone over dinner the other day, I said, Wayne said that he would possibly try and get John McEnroe to come in. Wouldn't it have been fantastic if when I said, right, here we are, and John McEnroe, who's sitting over here next to you, over there, and I said, I indicated go, and he said, you cannot be serious. And then I played the, dun, 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 dun. And I said, if you think that doesn't,
too scared.
If you think that doesn't sound like the recording, it's because the man himself is here. 50 years on, his voice has deepened a little, or it's got a bit croaky. But welcome, John. Wouldn't it have been fantastic?
He's gone a bit. He's a legend. As we've already spoken about, growing up with him, but he's gone a little bit soft in how he commentates too. He's been softened.
Have a listen to who's talking. I've never seen a man, a big iron man like your good self, soften about every single topic we discuss.
We were talking about what you can and can't say to an opponent.
Yep.
On the football, we're just leave it to the footy
nothing
field.
So far.
I'm saying if the opponent comes up and you've played on him before, you played on him in the last round and in the second round, and you touched him up.
Yeah.
You beat him. You kick 5 and he didn't have any influence whatsoever. You're allowed to say to him, gee, I hope you're a little bit better than last time, Muscles. You're allowed to talk about stuff. You're allowed to say that to him. You've got to get into his head. You're allowed to let him know that he's and make him think that he's in for another flogging.
See, what you do is you go from black to actually pale, pure white. You said, oh, Muscles, I hope you're a little better than you were last week. What about you, a shithouse last week? I hope you're going to fucking play better this week, you bully dill. What's
bully dill? What's a
bloody dill? I was going to say you fucking ass. So then that man might go to the AFL and say, I went into a decline. It was mental abuse. I felt inadequate and I felt shamed by Mr. Carey, who brought up my past performance, and I'm trying to get over it, and I've had mental problems and issues. And then suddenly you're defending yourself against the end.
That's not the case. If that, you know what the AFL should say, well, you know what, I don't think you're equipped to play this game at this level.
You reckon the AFL would say
that's
that?
That's what they should say.
That's what they should say.
100%.
I'm telling you 100%.
You reckon that if a player, you're telling me that a player at AFL level is this that goes to the AFL if someone brings up their playing ability.
If you said not, you Muscles, you weren't too good last year or last game, but if you said you are fucking hopeless, I hope you're a lot better this week because you were shit house the last time I played you, that person would go to the AFL or go to his coach and he'd say, I couldn't be on my game. I was mentally abused. I felt inadequate. I've
surely not.
You haven't been following the AFL, have you, in the recent times?
Well, clearly I haven't, because that's clearly not.
Well, what about the AFL chastising the Greater West Sydney, what are they called? What are the final Melbourne's Sydney
GWS,
for having at a private function dressing up and saying was a disgrace and we're apologising.
I still don't know. Has it been made public what they actually did?
Absolutely, it has.
What did they?
Well, one of them dressed up as the terrorist Bin Laden. The others dressed up as the Twin Towers. The two of them walked in as the Twin Towers. Someone dressed up as a woman. Someone dressed. What? Ray Gun, the bloody twister on the Olympics.
Olympian.
At a private function, and some scab, some snitch tipped him in. And Andrew Dillon, you would think it was the Nuremberg war trials. You'd think Hitler had actually slaughtered.
It was out of that whole thing. Private party. It should be no one. In actual fact,
but the cow eyes that they delivered, and him and Linda Kane. What's a nut, Linda? Laura Kane. They're the two people running Australia's biggest sporting organisation.
I just think that you're making a rod for your own back if you are going into someone's private party
Yeah. What about the umpire the next week? The umpire the next week dressed up as a person, and he got suspended for a week because they thought, if we suspend the footballers, we've got to suspend. The umpires had their end of season bash, and he dressed up.
So even the umpires are dressing up now. Are they?
He dressed up as not a woman. He dressed up as some man. And they said, "Oh no, that's a disgrace, and we're going to suspend you for a week because we can't have them suspending the footballers and not the umpires."
I thought you said the PC and the wokeness of what's going. I thought you said it's coming back the other way. That's
it is, except for the woke brigade, which is the AFL and a couple of other people that hang on desperately. They'll never relent because they'll think that they've been beaten, or they'll think that we're not going to have anyone else tell us what to do. They'll dig in harder. You watch at the start of games, the fucking.
So I get the feeling. Let's talk a little bit of AFL because we haven't done any of that.
No, I want you to do that.
I just want to talk a little bit about it because we're on the verge of all the players are back training now. They've had their 15 weeks off that we never got, Sam, and they say that they train harder and everything else, which they don't train harder than what we train. They train differently to how we trained. It's a little more, as they say, it's scientific.
They'd be counselled in case someone bags them or sledges them.
It is quite funny when I hear when people go, they are fitter than what we were. And I say we because, your era and my era, my era came into the professional era where you obviously were full time, you didn't have a job, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but in terms of the times we ran, Sam, or ran, for instance, whether it be an 800, a 1500, a 2K, or a 5K, or a 10K, the players these days do not run quicker than what we ran, and I'm saying we probably didn't run that much quicker than what you ran, or even if we did. So what I'm saying is they keep talking about, so they're obviously fully professional and we were the first club, we had dietitians and all of that, so it was into that era. But with all of the information that they have now, et cetera, they do not run 2Ks quicker than what we did. They do not run 5Ks quicker than what we did. They don't do the beep test any longer. They don't do the yo-yo test any longer. They don't jump any higher. But I'll tell you what they can do. They can smother better and they can tackle better.
Yes, and they can save a game before it needs to be saved. They can kick the ball backwards and forwards and backwards and frontwards and
anyway, let's not be too negative. What I will say is I'm looking forward to this year, and before the season starts, we'll go through a little bit about, not now, so I'll give you a little bit of time to do some homework because I notice you don't do much.
I don't need any
time. We'll go through some teams before the football starts, and we'll talk about who we think will be the ones that come up the ladder and who are the ones that will drop down the ladder. But I wanted to mention this a few weeks ago because I loved it. So Big Dean Cox got the job at Sydney. By the way, a little rumour. I don't go with rumours, but a little birdie tells me that Johnny Longmire, who recently ex-teammate, premiership teammate, been a super coach. I know you obviously lost a couple of grand finals by big margin, but little birdie tells me signed, sealed, and delivered to be the Tasmanian coach in a couple of years. So he'll have a rest, and that's just what I'm hearing. I've heard there are a few of the ex-Tasmanian boys, big name players.
That'll be a good thing to have in his CV. Lost the last two grand finals I got the side into by record margins. It's
just a rumour, and I don't like going with them, but I thought, well, why not? So what we'll do is we'll talk about the teams we think are going to come up the ladder and those who are going to slide. But getting to my point with Sydney again, Dean Cox, they did a 2K time trial. I love this. And this is what used to happen. This is what happened to us. This is what Dennis Pagan, the likes of Dennis Pagan and Mick Malthouse and Tom Hafey and Ron Barassi and Lee Matthew and all of these great coaches. This is what they did. You got flogged, and then just when you thought you could not lift or run anymore, they would say, "We're doing it all again."
Yeah.
And he did that with a 2K time trial, and you should have seen the look on the players' faces. They thought, hang on, this This doesn't happen. Well, we're going to have to run
And,
4 kilometres.
And you make a very good point, Wayne.
4 kilometres.
I'll bet a few of the players then went to the committee or to the people organising it and said, this is not right. We shouldn't be asked to do it again. We were fatigued, and it is not in our constitution that we can do that.
We can be tricked.
Mate, that's the way. What do you reckon? Have a listen to this. This is Australia Day. The West Coast Eagles put this out in Australia Day. This is the side that came last in the competition.
Yep,
This is the side that said, this is on Australia Day. The West Coast Eagles Football Club acknowledges that January the 26th is a day that evokes pain and sorrow and sadness. That's what they say about Australia
Melbourne
Day.
did the same thing.
Essendon. Today is painful and difficult for many First Nations people. First Nations, there's no First Nations people. We were first a nation in 1901, so there was no one living today as a First Nations person. And communities, we encourage everyone to take a moment of reflection and all the bullshit. Why would would you think? What do you have to put that out for? We all are reflecting on our history.
Because I think that AFL clubs included, and I think that there's still a great deal. There's still a great deal of people that don't know exactly how, and you obviously have made your mind up in how you view it. I still think there's people, organisations that still don't know exactly how to act or what to think because of the diversity, because we're not under the one flag, because there isn't unity. We haven't agreed on whether the 26th is Invasion Day or Australia Day. And when I say we haven't agreed, the Indigenous people of this country haven't agreed. They say that it's something else. So until we get that agreement, which it's like anything, the common sense. But I'm just saying, get together.
No matter what
until
date.
such time as that happens, Sam. You are going to get people that don't know what to say or how to say it, and they are going to sit on the fence, and they're going to cover all areas off. They're going to say, if you agree with that, you agree with that.
One of the top sporting bodies in Australia, the Eagles and the Essendon Football Club, wouldn't have the nous to stop all that bullshit. So Wayne, seriously,
can I ask you this? Once again, I don't let that.
Can I
lose sleep over that?
Why put it out? It's just pandering. It is just. It's just virtuous.
It's covering it's ticking every box.
Virtuous, pompous, arrogant nonsense. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
you can. We pay great respect to the people who were the previous, not the original inhabitants, because the Aboriginals weren't the original inhabitants of this country. They're the previous inhabitants. Look that up if you don't believe that. Do you think it is fair comment to say that only when settlement occurred in 1776 or whenever did this continent, this country start to be? There was nothing here, nothing. There were no pyramids. There were no hanging gardens of Babylon. The Micas weren't here. There was nothing. They're great people. They fought amongst themselves in tribes. And when white settlement came, this country started to be built. This
country was settled. Do you agree this country was settled with convicts from overseas?
Yes,
do you agree
slaves.
With that? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So convicts,
slaves
over here,
slaves,
and then turned the Indigenous people into convicts.
Well, they joined them as being slaves.
Well, there you go. Why?
Well, because the convicts were out here. That was their punishment. You go out and help build a country.
We've had this argument before, and it's not. I don't subscribe to exactly how you see it. In saying that doesn't make me right either. What I am saying is we surely in what are we now? 2025. Who would have thought you in particular, or me, would make it to 2025. And here we are talking about something that should have been worked out by now. True?
Because people just push, the vocal minority, the social elites push back on it.
Yeah, well, it should be worked out by now. It's not a puzzle.
It's a conundrum.
Now, we will get to doing a football.
Did you do any more football?
No. I just wanted to touch on. We'll come and give our up the ladder, down the ladder scenarios in the next couple of weeks, and what we think of each team, what we think clubs like North Melbourne and others that are down the bottom. And North Melbourne, how many games, what's a pass mark for teams like them who have been down the bottom for long enough and arguably people say the best coach in the last 40 years because he's won 4 premierships. We will find out whether he's the best coach in the last 40 years, because if they don't go anywhere this year, then that's been a flop.
Yes, which would be purely dependent on the cattle you have playing for you.
And he's got some good cattle now, Sam.
Has he?
He's got a lot of young kids. It's been in it. He's been there. This will be the third year.
Hardly.
A lot of young talent now.
He had to withdraw through mental anguish because of the nonsense that went on at Hawthorn, which was bogus.
Well,
was it beat up?
Yes. Oh, well, there's a lot of beat up.
Was it beat up?
Yeah. Yes.
The AFL didn't step in, like they didn't step in with Essendon. You would hope that someone like an Alistair Clarkson would understand exactly what the media can do to you, and what sort of treatment they can give to you when they just take one side, and then all of a sudden you say you're going through a bit of a tough time mentally, and then they drop off and then say, "Oh, poor Alistair." It's amazing how this fickle world we live. That is, you got to toughen up.
Yeah. It gives an understanding about how easily your life can be turned into
purely if you
turmoil by taking a view, guilty before charged.
That's it.
And how your life can be turned upside down. And Clarko should know, I'm sure he does now, know better than anyone exactly how that can work.
But the man who won the grand final for the Brisbane Lions, he suffered exactly the same fate.
Fagan, yes.
Yes, but he probably had some players that could play football, so there's the difference.
Well, I'm sure he's gone through the same anguish behind the scenes.
Of course he has.
No, you're right. All that I'm saying is if they have
Nobbled
to now, North Melbourne have to win games of football, and I would suggest 8 games of football they need to win this year for me.
8. Well, I know this is. Who do you think the 8 sides would be that they might beat?
Well, they'll play a few bottom sides twice.
You think?
Well, I think just off the top of my head, I think they can beat the Eagles a couple of times. They can probably beat Richmond a couple of times. When Tassie come in, the Gold Coast are flimsy away from home still. They're unproven, hard to beat at home the last couple of years, but flimsy.
There's 3.
Flimsy over. There are teams that are flimsy. They play those teams twice. They nearly beat. They should have beaten Collingwood last year. They should have beaten Sydney. Was it last year? Well, they lost by a point. And they got robbed by day. Anyway,
that's
what I'm saying is there were games that they could have won last year and the year before that they didn't, that they have to turn into wins for you to sit back and look at them and say, well, they've made some improvement because they have recruited unbelievably well. They have some unbelievable young talent.
Have they?
They do. Yeah.
Wardlaw,
Sheasel, Larkey. They've got some young gun. LDU's an absolute superstar who they need to re-sign. They've got some real good talent. They've got Luke Parker from Sydney, who's obviously an experienced superstar. They've got to start. They've got a middle range of players that need to step up, that have just signed big contracts and haven't really done bugger all. Those players step up and North Melbourne can win 8 games.
It's going to be fantastic this year. This is going to be a learning curve for me. You're going to bring in more about football that I've ever heard of in the last 5 years or taken notice of, only because I want to be part of the conversation. You've mentioned 6 players that I've never heard of for a start, but I take on advisement that you're going to be right across this. You're going to be right. Have you heard of a bloke? He's not a football. Have you heard of a bloke called Ryan Muleman?
Ryan Muleman. What's Ryan do?
Ryan Muleman was the bloke, the premier, and his missus hit in their SUV and bowled him over. And the Premier, ex-Premier, Dan.
Oh, Ryan's the kid.
Yeah, Ryan's the kid. Dan.
Oh, right. We've spoken about Ryan.
No,
I just
well, I'm
never
the
remembered his
reason
name.
That's it. So why would you? So you're about to remember his name because Dan said that Ryan speared out from a side street and drove into the side of the SUV. It turns out that the car that Dan was in was travelling at speed and on the wrong side of the road. That's what the police report said that never made the light of day.
That's what the police report says.
That's just come out now because Mr. Newman, through his parents, has said that he wants an apology and compensation. And he will let the matter go away if he gets an apology and compensation. And Slater and Gordon are
How much compensation?
Exactly. And Slater and Gordon, the old ambulance chasers, they're on the case with the Premier. And you watch them duck and weave by the time Mr. Newman says, and the police report is corroborated, which never saw the light of day. You wait for that. I look forward this to is that. The man they're going to build a statue to.
Yes, yeah. I did agree with a few people saying that they Serena Williams, Djokovic. They want to put statues at the tennis centre of a few of the greats. Federer, obviously. Yeah, I read that today. I agree with all of those
that's
three.
Good.
They should all have statues.
Let's hope they don't misrepresent or characterise in a caricature fashion Serena Williams' statue, because I think who was the man that drew a caricature of her in the Herald Sun? Who was it? Who? Mark Knight.
Yes,
well done,
I saw that.
He got the shit kicked out of him for drawing attention to her idiosyncrasies like you do with every person you draw a character of, but because it was Serena Williams and she had fuzzy curly hair and reasonably big lips, they accentuated her characteristics like they would with you.
Yes, I've seen mine. None of them are flattering.
No, if you want to see mine. I got eyes like you could blindfold me with dental floss. So a huge hooter. So they
Is that before or after you had your...
after. After
you had your facelift.
Oh, yeah, my eyes were just wide as well. They like dinner plates before the bloke got hold of me. Everyone came out and said, it's a disgrace, you've accentuated her facial features. I said, that's what caricatures do. Let's hope that they give a very, very good rendition of Serena.
There's good
Who else would you put around there? Rod's, of course, around there, isn't he?
I think Federer, Serena and the Joker are the obvious three that would go around there.
Yeah.
Without
and Rod Laver's already there, is he?
Yeah, well, it's Rod Laver Arena.
No, he's already
just
there.
Just his whole stadium's named after Rod.
They've got a statue of Nicky Winmar outside Optus Stadium in Perth. Yeah. What would he be there for?
Nicky?
Because he lifted his jumper up and pointed to his stomach.
I know where you're going with this. I tell you, you know what I do remember about Nicky Winmar is
what do you remember?
he had a period in his career where he was
superstar.
He was well, if he wasn't the best, he was equal best player in the competition, I reckon, for 12 months or maybe even more. Yep. He was unbelievable there for a period of time. And that's saying something when you got Tony Lockett, Robert Harvey, Stewie Lowe, Nathan Burke. You've got some pretty handy players in that team at the time.
Did anyone ever say he wasn't a great player or a good player?
No. Oh, no.
No, good. That's just in case you think we're saying he wasn't.
No.
All we're saying is...
I don't know why the statue thing, I just read it today and I thought those three in particular you'd have no qualms about. I'm not sure about having statues of ex-premiers, especially those who took us through COVID. But that's just a personal opinion. Doesn't mean much coming from an ex-has-been footballer, but it's mine.
You're
You're
too humble, Wayne.
Hey,
An ex
I
premier,
don't hear that often enough.
An
Sam.
ex premier who took us through COVID, who drove this state into the ground, and we became the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah.
Never answered any of the questions at the inquiries about how we're in debt. $200 billion. Never the red. It goes on and on. It's a disgrace. His government were the most corrupt, inept, and deceitful government ever in the history of world government.
What about the when you see the vision now? And it wasn't all that long ago. So I'll for always. You'll obviously always remember it. We will because, we were locked out. Kids obviously won't remember it, but the vision you see of police arresting, people that were down by the beach. The vision that, I remember getting on a plane when it was in between, lockdown and not lockdown, and the cabin crew, you call them cabin crew now, not flight attendants or hosties. You don't call it's a the cabin.
Red Jansen
some cabin crew looking at you saying pull your mask because you had your mask just there rather than up there.
Because you're eating.
Because you couldn't breathe. Because they didn't have the air conditioner or whatever on the plane, and the plane hadn't taken off yet, so you actually wanted to breathe. So all of these things, and then you think about why we turned on, why people turned on Djokovic for not having his vaccination, and people against them, people losing their jobs because they didn't have vaccinations. I mean, it is. You think about it now, and you just think, how did we put up with that crap?
That's what we're saying. So why would you make a statute?
You would have bent the laws, although I know you don't bend laws when you're in your car. You've never had a ticket or never did you at least go outside the 5 kilometre radius, or did you have more than 2 people over, or did you have more than when you're allowed 5 people? Did you have 6 people over, or did you? Go out in your boat when you weren't allowed out in your boat, or did you play tennis, or did you sneak out on a golf course? Did you do something wrong?
Let me answer those 8 questions in order.
Okay.
No, my partying days and going out days were just on the wane about COVID in 2022. But I didn't. If I wanted to drive outside the 5 kilometre, I did. But I didn't go out in a boat because that'd be like red rag to a bull. Out they'd come and they'd circle you and put the hoses on you and tow you back in. You were a prisoner in your own city for nothing. As for they said you got to walk 6 feet apart. What quantifiable surveyor said that if you're 7 feet apart when you walk down the footpath, you're okay, but you've got to remain 6 feet apart and only 2 of you, not 3 of you, and you can't play tennis because the person up the other end of the ground is 30 feet away from you. But if you touch the balls that they've just hit with their racket, you might get it was the most disgraceful period in our lifetime.
But you could go up and line up at Dan Murphy's with 40 people all around you.
And you could hang on to a petrol pump after someone had just put it back in the nozzle. You didn't have to have gloves. You could go to an ATM and you could press the same glass screen with your finger as the person before you had done it. It was. This is why, if they ever build a statue to that man for stupidity.
So now, when you look back on everything that we went through, and you look back and you sort of go, well, the worldwide. Reaction to this, the most dangerous disease that the world has ever seen, and you can't be within so
besides
far.
The bubonic plague.
And I've been, but all you catch it. You look at someone from 4 foot and you can catch it. And I was at 5 parties that. Apparently it was a super spreader and never got it. So if anyone was going to get it, I would have got it. So when you look back at all of that, contagious was the word I was looking for. But you look now, the Hayden Burbank situation, where he has been a Melbourne supporter his whole life, and he jumps on, he goes to Darwin, and he does the couple of weeks up there, and then sneaks over the border, and now he's got a criminal record. He's gone to jail, went to jail for a period of time.
Can't operate a company.
Does all of these. So all of that because of this. And when you look now and you say, well, what he did really, was it that bad?
We had him in here.
Oh, you've had him in now.
We've had him in here, interviewed Hayden. And he was a shattered man. I said, mate, what? He said, I went to jail with hardened criminals. He said, I was put in the same cell. He said, I was tampered with. I was molested.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. He said, yeah. I said, that is, he didn't say it was a disgrace. He didn't want to get himself any deeper than he was absolutely shattered. His mother had to buy his company. His life is completely ruined by bullshit, serious nonsense.
It is when you think now.
And Brett Sutton, who was the right-hand man of Dan Andrews, putting all this in. They lied about I Cook Foods. I Cook Foods, they put out of business by lying and planting evidence. The state, federal and local governments did it, the Labor governments. Brett Sutton was part of it, and he resigned, and now he heads up the CSIRO. It's laughable. We are living in a hickey little country at the bottom of a pissy little world, and we're all sitting here speaking shit about shitheads. It's a joke.
It is a sad time when you think back.
Now I got one.
One more. Okay.
Well, I've got one more. Have you got anything at all?
Yeah.
I've got one more. Mm-hmm. So you'll like this. So they just said the death toll on the roads is they've had a campaign for 20 years, and it keeps going up every year because the people who are in the public arena, who get given the grants, the people to put in stringent measures to stop the road toll, all they do is infuriate people. The road toll, the deaths on the road toll are caused by predominantly speed. Alcohol maybe, drugs, but speed. And so what they do is they say, well, we'll put the speed limit down from 100 to 80, from 50 to 40. Got nothing to do with it. People are going to speed, they're just going to speed because they're irresponsible, and everyone has to pay for it.
It is confusing. I think one of the most confusing things on our roads is the fact that you can go through an area and you can have 3 different limits within 500 metres. Now, talk about that confusion. So therefore, so it goes from 40 to 50 to 80, 80 back to 50, all within 500 metres, and then someone's doing 50 where it's 80, and does that cause an accident? Someone doing a slower speed in an area where you're allowed to do a quicker speed? All of it does. But you're right, it's all got to do with speed. Whether you're going too slow in an area where you should be going quicker, or you're going too quick, full stop.
Or people driving 180 down the
That's
freeway.
What I'm saying. Or you're going
it doesn't matter if the speed
quick,
limit's 100 or 110 people.
No, but if you're doing 80 and someone's doing 40 in an 80 zone and you come up behind,
and all those speed limits are predicated on the fact that they are revenue raisers to try and get their budgets, which are drastically over budget, to bring it back into the blue and bring it back so they can balance the budget. They're just
speed limit. That's what it is everywhere. And it just changes at the drop of a hat. And I'm not sure why you need that many changes within a distance that long. It's just ridiculous.
And the majority of truck drivers are pigs. They are just the majority of them are pigs. They drive those big beat up.
How can you tell? You can't even see them in there. How do you know they're pigs? How do you know they're pigs?
They come up, they tailgate you. They, for no reason, go out and pass you when you're on the speed limit. Then they come back in front of you just to show you that you should have been doing a fraction over the speed limit. They are the most mindless, stupid people. That's the majority of them. Some good ones. Some people are courteous. But the majority of them are ignorant pigs.
Yeah, look, they drive a big bit of machinery, a lot bigger than what we're driving, and they think they can own the road at different times.
So you put up with that, do you? If someone cuts you off, you say no.
I don't let
just
just because a truck puts its blinker on, I don't let it in. Now I don't want to get squished, but
you don't now. Oh, so
no, not a truck.
Oh, I see. So if you come down,
the trucks in.
Oh, if you come
if
down,
if I'm already on the inside of the truck, Sam, and it wants to get over to the lane I'm in, and I'm already there, I'm not letting the truck come in.
No, you'll risk them bending your car just on principle, will you?
Well,
here's a man who comes down the spare lane and just wants to cut in after everyone's been waiting in turn.
If it's a car, I'll let it in. If it's not a truck.
That's if it's a car.
It's a
That's
bit
like
of a-
pissing in the pool. If there's only 2 or 3 people
So
in the pool, I'll piss in it. But if a whole lot get in, I won't be pissing.
I can tell that you're intimidated by trucks. I reckon
Intimidated? I'm not intimidated by trucks. I just look at them and you wonder what they're on about.
The only cars you're tooting are Minis,
Not at all.
V-dubs,
No.
Volvos.
No.
I reckon there's a particular
Not
car. I tell you
intimidated
what,
by trucks.
You're not.
Just watch.
I don't reckon you're tooting
Just
an
wonder what
SS,
the mentality.
an SS Commodore with mags on it, or a beefed up Ferrari, or something that you think there could be someone that's reasonably tough inside the car. I don't reckon you're.
What says here in the majority of truck drivers are tough, do you?
I just reckon. No, that's why I think you're intimidated.
That's
by them.
right.
And I think also.
No.
If it's a little Mini or something, because you think, well, it could only be a very small person that's driving that car, so I'll toot that car a little stronger.
Jeez, fuck me. So I selectively toot people based on the size of the car, do I? Fucking hell. Hang on, it's 35 minutes into the second episode. This is Sue say you got you at the 35 minute of the second episode. Now, Wayne, I just as a man, this is topical because it happened yesterday. A man called Suleiman Abdul Rahman, known as Sam. He was shot dead outside a Preston bakery or coffee shop today, the early morning today. We had him in here. I interviewed him last year after he got shot 8 times outside a wedding venue, and he came in here and he had he had tape all over where the bullets were. He showed us, he took his top off, and we had a good chat to him about what sort of life you're living, Sam, and how's everything going, mate? And he said, yes. He said, so I'm just, if you want to hear the late Sam Suleiman Abdul Rahman on the podcast, it was titled The Punisher, because he called himself The Punisher, and it was episode 168 of it was called The Punisher. If you want to listen to the late Suleiman Abdul Rahman having a chat about the life he was leading, he's no longer, and you could refresh yourself with the chat we had. Oh, thank you, Sue. Or you can now. It's Wayne. I've been.
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm just looking at
me up at this.
I'm just looking at my phone here.
What, domestic help have called in, have they?
Will you be back in time for swimming? Yes, I will.
Well, as long as you've got a full bladder,
Yes.
you'll be able to have a piss
Yes,
in the
I
pool.
can.
So, all right, we'll finish this now. So you can listen to Abdul Suleiman Rahman on You Cannot Be Serious podcast. Is that right, Sue?
We'll put all the audios going back.
We're putting all the audio. We didn't have the cameras
Sam,
going.
that's obviously a sad time for that. They probably don't want to be listening to. There might be someone that wants to listen to it, but there'd be a few people being a little shaken up, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, we're advising the few people who'd be shaken up not to listen to it. If you want the majority of people to
But it's a
listen
good
to an
interview.
interesting discussion
it
we had
it
with...
sounds like it would be interesting.
You Cannot Be Serious podcast. It is not filmed because we hadn't been filming, but you can listen to the audio on it. And
So
tell
therefore-
people, this is for your benefit too.
All right,
Tell
I'll listen to
people
it.
that's not for your benefit, this is for your benefit. Tell people when they hit the bell. What do they hit the bell for? Notifications, so that when you and I are on, a bell automatically says the latest chat between Carey and Newman is on, and it alerts them.
Gotcha.
And that's
so notifications. Hit the notifications.
hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Yeah, I don't even know what it means, but Sue said tell them to hit the
sort
bell.
of makes sense. Just does it ring?
Where's the bell? Where is the bell?
It's in notifications.
On your phone. Okay, so that's how much I know about it. Wayne, as always. Is there any other final? I had one other thing to tell you, but is there anything else going on?
No, we're going to we'll call it quits there, Sam, while we're ahead. But there will be a bit more footy chat. I'll come
want
with
to
some footy stuff next week.
This is relating to the last thing we spoke about. I live on Lorimer Street in Port Melbourne. Every night, not every night, there must be designated nights. They have the boys go down to get a pizza and the girls, and they scream those cars up and down loud, drag racing, motorbikes that you could hear over in Epping. I wonder just why the coppers don't come down and put an end to it. You can hear it. You can hear it all over Port Melbourne. It goes on and on and on, and you can get up in the morning, go down, see all the screeching, all the tyre marks and the rubber. Why would the coppers put up with that?
Well, there's probably someone on the beach putting a beer in the wrong esky, and they're more worried about booking them.
On that note, which I understood not one word of, I'm winding this up.